Hey guys, Asher coming at you today with another Raid Shadow Legends champion guide, this time on the newly buffed champions at the time of this recording, starting with Supreme Athel. That's right, the next three champions to have guides here on the channel are going to be the three champions that did receive the buff: Little Miss Annie, Supreme Athel, and Siegfried the Nephilim. I do want to make it a point here on the channel every month when they go through these champion rebalancing to do either new or updated guides on all the champions that were buffed, right? Hopefully a lot of buffs and not a lot of nerfs. We need a lot of buffs, right? Anyway, we're going to start out with Supreme Athel, who I don't have an existing guide for. So I'll do Supreme Athel, I'll do Siegfried tomorrow, and then I will do Little Miss Annie, who I believe we have an old guide for, but I'll do an updated guide after the buff, right? So anyway, shout out to some of you guys. We got Miguel 1835 looking for Supreme Athel. The reviews make me sad, he says. Well, let's see if the buff did anything about this. We have Takaho, we have Braylon Fletcher, excuse me. We have Durdery. We have a few other guys here, Gust, Robert, and I see stupid people. Well, perfect way to end the shout out section of the video. Let's go ahead and run into the Supreme Athel guide. What does she look like now after the buff? All right, guys, so we have a festive background going on right now at this time in place in Raid Shadow Legends, celebrating the 5th anniversary of the game. Let's go ahead and take a look at Supreme Athel. Actually, let's just start out with taking a look at what the balance changes were to this champion. Did the buff go far enough? So if we go under news, if I click on it right, there we go. Update details. So a lot here added. Little Miss Annie, I mean, every skill was changed. Not dramatically, but even her passive. And then Supreme Athel, skill 1, damage multiplier increased. Exemplar of Stoicism. On skill 2, the skill has been changed. Old version, ignoring strengthen, ally protect, and unkillable, and then places a freeze. The new version is before attacking, places a freeze. That's really cool. Will ignore strengthen, ally protect, and unkillable, as well as 20% of the target's defense when attacking enemies under freeze. I think this is a really cool buff idea. Now she's placing the freeze first, which is bad in a sense where it's going to mitigate some of her damage, but we make that up on the back end with ignoring 20% of their defense. Damage multiplier also increased on this A2 ability, so a lot of buffs going on with the A2. On the A3, this is a self-buffing skill. It used to be an increased attack, increased crit rate, and a shield based on her attack, and then an extra turn. Now it's an increased attack, increased crit rate, and a shield, and an increased accuracy, which gives her a higher likelihood of landing that freeze on the A2 because it's an extra turn ability will always open up with the A3 first. The value of the shield is still proportional to this champion's attack, and the shield is honestly pretty dang good on Supreme Athel because her attack is easy to scale up with almost a 1600 base attack. Let's take a quick look at her here. She is obviously a Sacred Order Void Legendary Champion. She looks pretty good. I'm not blown away with her aesthetics. I mean, it's obviously, you know, it's a good callback to the original Athel, I guess I would say, right? She's got the bigger and more improved shoulder pads here showing off. Anyway, the reviews are really bad, but don't hold that against her because these are the reviews based on her before the buff, obviously. So on her A1, Exemplar of Stoicism, where the damage multiplier has been increased. If their enemies under freeze, also attacks them. So it's an AoE-ish against targets under freeze. We're also decreasing the enemy's attack and then increasing this champion's attack on the same ability, stacking up to 30%, a pretty good A1. On the A2, Cold Company attacks all enemies. Again, before attacking puts the freeze. We already are familiar with the skill, can be booked down to 3 turns. And then Ever Faithful, we talked about this as well. It's a 4-turn cooldown, but it's an extra turn mechanic. On her passive, Frosty Glare, can be booked out to a 15, make it a 30% chance of placing a freeze debuff on attackers for 1 turn when they're hit while under a shield buff, which is usually the case. She has a self buff, and I mean, a lot of teams run either a bolster or a shield set or have a shield champion on the team. We also have a 50% chance of placing a freeze debuff on all enemies for 1 turn whenever a shield on the champion is removed by damage. Oof. All right, man. I mean, her kit reads really freaking good, like nasty, nasty, right? I remember being pretty blown away with how cool her kit was originally, too, and then her being so underwhelming damage-wise. So let's see if she can deal some damage now, right? So I have her built out in as a nuker, right? And the cool thing is with the increased accuracy now and the self-buff ability, it actually alleviates the need to stack her up with a ton of accuracy. So we have 304, so that will, ostensibly be 450 accuracy. So it goes a long way, that self-buff accuracy. I'm really happy they added that to her A3 ability. So what do we have on her? We have attack on the ring. We have crit damage with more crit damage on the amulet, in terms of the ascension stat, that is. We have attack with some accuracy on the banner. And then we have crit damage, obviously, on the gauntlets. We have attack percentage on the chest, and we have speed with more speed ascension on the boots. Stat priorities on this champion are obviously going to be attack. We want that attack so she can get a better shield and do more damage, right? Pretty obvious there. We can also, remember, scale that up with the A1 because we increase her attack up to 30%. Not a lot of survivability here to speak of. She has 16k base HP and 903 base defense. Sorry, I'm covering it, but her base survival stats are really, really poor for a Void Legendary. I mean, for attack-based champions, I understand they're not going to be super high, but for a Void Legendary, the 903 defense, that's very, very low. She's not very, she can't take a hit at all. So keep that in mind, right? You might want to build her with a Stone Skin build or something like that, especially if you're trying to build her as a more hybrid control champion. You have a few different ways to go. But I think if you're not building this champion for a lot of damage, I mean, well, I've sneak peeked, I've peeked, I should say, at what she can do, and it's a lot better now with the new multipliers. They're not updated, by the way, on the websites out there, the new multipliers, so I don't know exactly what they are, but it's clear she's doing a lot more damage than she used to, okay? Anyway, speed is going to be a pretty good priority because she's a control and a damage dealer, right? We want her to get into that A3, take that extra turn, and then smack everybody and freeze them. Hopefully they lose their turns. Obviously, she lands her freeze. Obviously, there's a lot of Stone Skin and Polymorph are still going to be a major issue for this champion, not just on the A2, but also her passive where she's placing basically a built-in Frostbite set, kind of, sort of, off that passive too. So while there's a lot of utility, a lot of good control in a lot of areas of the game, we're going to be focused on the arena in today's video, but really, you can use her as a control champion pretty much anywhere. I mean, a 3-turn freeze is very, very good still here in 2024 in Raid Shadow Legends. So, skills. I don't have her awakened, unfortunately, but if I did, I mean, Polymorph is so busted right now that I would go Polymorph. That would be my blessing, right? I think it's the way to go for everybody in this game that you're already building accuracy on, even damage dealers now. That's how much they broke it when they added stats to every single blessing, the same stats to every single blessing. So, whereas I would previously recommend Soul Reap on this champion, now I would probably just go Polymorph. You're getting more control from an already very control-centric damage-dealing kit. So I would go Polymorph. If not, again, I would probably just go with Soul Reap or with Cruelty or with Crushing Rend would be my options there. All right, in terms of masteries, nothing too crazy here, guys. We went down the offense tree and down defense tree. You could absolutely go support. This is an old mastery build. I like going into her A1 with Retribution on counterattacks because, again, we're just boosting up her attack and we're also negating the attack of the opponent. Let me push myself over here and crop my wall out of the image. The offensive tree, very basic arena build here. I would say the Opportunist is a great mastery for her. We're doing more damage on targets under freeze, right? She's placing the freeze now before she's doing the damage. So we really want to pick up Opportunist, even if it comes at the expense of Cycle of Violence, which is a very, very good mastery as well. I could definitely see players going, with single out, and then coming down with coming from Ruthless Ambush to Opportunist and Cycle of Violence, and then picking up Kill Streak and Methodical, and even bypassing Bring It Down and Single Out. But I'm totally cool with this kind of loadout as well. On the support tree, if I was going to go support on this champion, it would be probably pretty obvious to you guys, but I would go with accuracy, more accuracy in Swarm Smiter. I might go with Rapid Response because she has all her self buffs, right? So you can get a lot of speed when they start to expire. She has that natural shield synergy. So I think Shield Bearer would also make a lot of sense on this champion. Heck, I'm almost talking myself into going support instead here. Rejuvenation is nice. Either way, though, if you have like triple perception or double perception, if you don't want to go lethal or savage on this champion, you could go Lore of Steel as well and kind of end off with maybe Lasting Gifts. Extend the duration of her own buffs, which would be pretty cool as well. They earn a 3-turn cooldown, but she does take an extra turn, ergo, making them a 2-turn cooldown in practice. So there we go, guys. I still like Retribution. You could absolutely go with deterrence as well, right? Let me talk about other sets here real quick. Lethal Perception. If I was going to be using her primarily in PvE content, maybe a Doom Tower Wave champion, let's just pull her up on hellhades.com. They give her a 3.5 rating, but that has not been updated after the buff. Take that into consideration. Spider, they give her a 4.5. Dreadhorn, a 4. Arena, a 4. Yeah, I expect that to change quite a bit. Her old multipliers are 2.7 and a 3.8. Again, I don't know what the new ones are. I'm sure somebody out there does. They recommend Brimstone for PvE. In the arena, they recommend Lightning Cage, Polymorph. If you can't beat them, join them is what I say, right? And go Polymorph. They recommend, let's see, Perception for PvE. Perception, Savage, Lethal, Accuracy, Speed, Relentless. I can understand why you would want to go any of those directions. Me personally, if I didn't want to build her with Savage or Lethal, I would probably go with Triple Cruel or Triple Perception or a mix of Cruel and Perception in her kit. Now that she has that nice ignore defense on the A2, we can really ramp that up vis-a-vis Helm Smasher and Savage or Lethal gear, plus maybe even some Cruel gear. I think the best way to build her might be Lethal and Cruel if you can find the accuracy from other sources. However, my accuracy at 304, even with the increased accuracy, it's not quite high enough for my liking. Let's go ahead and try her out in the arena, guys, and see what she can do here. The new Supreme Athel. So ignore the fact that I'm putting her with a stacked team. I just want to set her up to just do a damage check, really, okay? Actually, I should probably switch this team up a little bit, take Ancora out, and put in a proper debuffer on the enemy team. But let's see what she can do without any debuffs. No decreased defense, no weaken. She's going into a shield here. Now, on her A2, though, she is not ignoring shield. She's ignoring strengthen, ally protect, unkillable. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Let's go ahead and cleanse everybody here. Let's go ahead and give an increased attack, even though she brings it herself. The cool thing is we don't even need all this setup, right? Look at this A3. We're bringing the shield, the increased attack, the increased crit rate, and the increased accuracy. So, we don't need the increased attack. She can fit on a bunch of different teams, especially because she's bringing your own shield. And look at how big that shield is she just replaced it with. It scales very well off of her attack. All right, guys, the moment of truth here. Let's go in with the nuke. Again, first we're going to place freeze on everybody, which is beautiful. I mean, her damage isn't out of this world, but I mean, that's pretty dang solid. Don't you guys think? That's pretty dang solid. And notice also, I didn't even go over it, but we have leech on them as well. So we're going to come back in here. Let's see what she can do with her. I mean, I love the, I think this is a great buff, guys. This is a great buff because she serves a niche role in the game, right? Now she's like what Gurgo the Augur should be. He should be next on the buff list, right? Because she's got a really, really strong nuke, right? And she's got, or I should say a really strong, not really, not two reallys. She's got a strong nuke, and she's got great control and the same ability. It's pretty cool. All right, let's go back in here again. And with that extra turn mechanic, we can kind of get back to her A2 maybe a little bit faster too in longer battles, right? So let's go ahead and self-buff again, get that big shield on again, and then come in and kill everybody, ignore some of their defense in the whole 9, right? So that was pretty impressive. Let's go against a Go First team here, a little bit of a more formidable team. I'm going to need, well, let's just see. Let's take White Queen and Cora out, and let's put I don't even think we need a Duchess. I think let's go with a Marichka or something like that. Basically, I'm just trying to think of a champion that I have in bolster gear because I know I'm going to need it for the team that we're about to face right now. So let's just put a bolster champion that I know I have built out in Marichka. And then let's go ahead and go with Lydia as my debuffer on this squad as well, right? So now we're going to have a lockout and a debuffer, and we should be looking at something really nice here on Supreme Athel against a squishier team here. Got to be careful with Baron because even his A1 can smoke my entire team, right? With that surplus damage. Let's go ahead and cleanse away. And then let's just keep debuffing them. Why not? All right, here we go. We're going to self-buff again. Now, this should be everybody immediate wipeout. And you can see Arbiter attacked Supreme Athel, and she froze her. It's really cool to have that freeze built in. I mean, I could barely even see the damage, 130, 150, whatever K damage. I mean, that was really nice. That was nice. Let's go against this squad here. I think this Supreme Athel, you know, I think this is a great buff. This is a great buff. I don't think she's broken, but she's definitely like now a champion that not new players, but you can pull her as a Void Legendary and not be incredibly disappointed anymore, you know? Because you never wanted to see her coming out of a Void Shard before. Now I'm like, okay, look, I mean, already, you see the 2 freezes and we haven't even done anything, you know? That's really cool. That passive freeze is really strong. It's really strong. It's always been strong. But the rest of her kit was so bad that it didn't make any sense, you know? Okay, let's come back in here, remove some of this stuff. Going to get some more to Macabre here as well, so you got to be very careful. He could be lights out right now on our girl. Let's just go in, get that shield up, come back in, and now Mortu Macabre can't hurt us when he's dead. Look at all that damage, man. Dude, that was really nice. That was really nice. And it's cool because obviously we're getting the reduced damage because they're under freeze. But boy, you saw it right on that last nuke, right? She makes up for it in a big, big way with the ignore defense, you know? So he's under stone skin right now, so we can't really do anything here. But he can't revive either because he's locked out. So I think he's 1 turn away from his revive. Pytheon's still one of the goats of the game, man. I rebuilt my Pytheon last night off camera just for my own account for Live Arena, and I was just reminded how good this dude is, you know. All right, we're just going to come in again with the A3, and well, the damage multiplier was increased on the A1 too, so let's just do A1 instead. And yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, no debuffs on Pytheon, but nothing too crazy there on that A1. Small sample size, but not noticing anything absolutely insane. Okay, I was wrong. He was 2 turns away from his revival, and he's going to be dead. Let's go ahead and check out one more here, guys. I hope that you don't mind that I'm focusing on Arena, but I feel like with a skill set like this, I mean, she's really just a great control champion, whatever you need a control champion on your team, right? You can put her in pretty much any dungeon. The cool thing is obviously she's void affinity, so you don't have to worry about affinity matchups or anything like that. Here she goes again, A2 ability, boom. She freezes everybody. Big nuke comes down. Kind of like the animation too, right? They have a cleanser on the team. There are 2 cleansers on the team. I didn't notice if Mithrala resisted anything, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to freeze her. My accuracy probably a little bit low for a Mithrala. She comes in anyway. She's locked out. She can't cleanse off Cardial. And there we go. So guys, again, we're going to end this one here, but I'm a big fan of the new Supreme Athel. I'm a big fan. I mean, that's a big girl damage there, guys. Great buff on this champion. Definitely not trash anymore. We'll go ahead and have a Little Miss Annie showcase as well as a Siegfried the Nephilim, as I mentioned at the top of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this guide, trying to go out the day of. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.